Welcome to the Prosperous Musician. My name is Spence, and I'm here with today's guest, who is Renee Rain. Hello, Renee.
Hi Spence, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. A pleasure.
Louise Porter, she was responsible for managing Mystique, and you can check that video out up there. She has put me on to some brilliant artists, and Renee is the latest one. So, Renee, how did you get started?
So I've come from quite a musical background. My family is very musical. I grew up in a household where there was music playing all the time. Started, I would say, back from my grandfather. He was a musician. He worked as a band manager as well as being a musician himself, a blues band he used to manage, and he also used to play guitar and piano. This was way before I was born, but he also had a band with my father and my father's friends and brother. My father played drums, and they had their own sort of Jackson 5 going on in the household. And my grandfather was really, really serious about music. You know, he really wanted to make it as an artist and a band manager. And then my father sort of took up music and he became a reggae DJ. So they call it a sound man. So he had his own sound, and they used to make their own speakers and they'd go out and do reggae dance gigs. And then, this was just music playing in the house all the time, vinyls and such. So I had a very eclectic background in terms of the types of music that was playing. So growing up as a young girl, I was always singing, and my grandfather would show me a keyboard and how to play it. And over the years, they saw that I had some, a great interest in music. So they gave me some lessons in piano, and encouraged me to have lessons with music teachers. And then growing up into going to school, I was always studying subject in music, became a music captain in year 11, which is like when you're about 12, 13. And then I went and studied at college as well. I did a music technology course in A levels, and I did classical music study and training at A level as well. And then went on to university. Again, it was just music all the way through. And it was just inevitable. I think when I was about 5, my idols were Michael Jackson and Janet Jackson. I would always watch their music videos. And I think you could just tell that my pathway was going to be a musician or a singer or something like that. So I became very much dominant in the arts, and I took up singing and decided that that was what I wanted to do. And then later on, the songwriting developed, where I'd write poetry. And then because of the studying, I learned how to make music as well. So producing and things like that, and using music software to make music. My journey turned into becoming an artist. By the time I was ending, just in the middle of my school life, I joined a girl group, and we started to do a lot of shows and performing at the Brighton Dome. Opened up for the Honeys. This was in the early 90s, for the Honeys and Will Mellor and things like that. So I had my full taste of, being a music artist, and just kind of went on from there.
So you've mentioned some of the influences there. So what are your influences now?
I'd say I really liked Prince. Just the fact that he was so, diverse in what he could do. Not just a songwriter and a performer. He was a producer. He played multiple instruments. That really inspires me. Stevie Wonder, Quincy Jones, as far as production goes. I liked studying music and how it's made and the producers behind the music. So people like Pharrell Williams, Darkchild, Timbaland, because I was very much into R&B growing up. My influences are all around the genre of R&B and soul. Aretha Franklin, Whitney Houston, the singers, Mariah Carey. Now, because I've sort of just transitioned into becoming more of a producer artist, which we can talk about, I guess, later on. But even into house music, I've got very much into dance and house music. So people like Avicii, David Guetta, Swedish House Mafia. producers and artists are very much, I got my ears in tune to.
So how important was it to have the support of your family?
I think it was the core support that I needed. I think if I didn't have my family support and background, I think I would have found it really difficult, because I feel so strongly and passionate about music that I think having my family support and them fully understanding that this is what I wanted to do as a lifelong career has really helped keep me going and kept me sort of motivated to stay true to that career choice and that passion.
So we can talk a little bit more about how you transitioned then from
Mhm.
sort of studying music, being into music, and then you sort of started switching into being a producer. So how did that come about?
Like I said, skill set in how to produce and things, but whenever I try to pursue that as well as the singing, I think because it was such a male dominated area, I would always just be depicted as the singer. So it was really hard to sort of push myself as a producer as well, be taken seriously. And I had a lot of sort of bad experiences where other producers who were male like would take my work and sort of take credit for it and actually, act as if they had done the work and I was just a singer or, a small part in the role of putting the music together. And that started to sort of put me off. And so I really just, although I would play and produce, I wouldn't really showcase it so much. It would be more of, oh yes, I'm a singer or a singer-songwriter. And I pursued that for several years. I then went to travel to different countries because my family moved abroad. They moved to Spain. And I was still in the midst of my education. I was at university, but I wasn't getting on very well with the classical training there. It just wasn't gelling with what I wanted to do. I guess it wasn't the course that I thought it was for me. It didn't really fit me. So I left and went to Spain as well. And I told my parents, I don't think the degree thing is for me. So they were like, okay, well, you better, get practicing every day, rehearse and get out there and start gigging. And if you're going to do this music, you need to take it seriously. So I started performing around the island, playing as well, playing the keys, supporting myself as a pianist and vocalist. Then I had the opportunity to do a tour in Ibiza in a tribute band as the Supremes. And that went on for almost a year, like six months. Then came back to the UK and was like, okay, what do I do now? So I went on to pursue the artistry as a songwriter and singer. I'd say about 10 years in, I was working as an artist, performing, that sort of thing, recording, and kind of struggling to find my way. So then I kind of dropped music for a while and went into teaching, which is totally left field. And then I decided I wanted to go and get my degree. So I took it up in education studies. And yeah, I was just a teacher for a good 5-6 years.
Were you teaching music?
I was teaching music, arts, also the regular core subjects as well, English, maths and science. Really loved working with children. And during that time, I was also a radio DJ. So I was on the local radio station on the weekends on a Saturday, playing music, being a radio host, interviewing artists and establishing myself that way. And I would incorporate that into my work as well, as everybody was so interested in, my pastime that I had. So I was doing that for a number of years, and then I had the opportunity to go and work in America as a pianist and a singer at a camp in New York. That again was working with children, but also in the arts as well. So I had that experience. So I left. That's when I quit as a teacher, and again did that for six months, and then came back and was trying to figure out what I was going to do. And eventually I met some people who were traveling to the UK, but were from Estonia and Ukraine, and moved in with them in London. And they were like, oh, they knew I sang, and they were like, oh, you know, you should really explore the Baltics, especially Estonia. There's great music industry and life out there. You would really like it. Go out there for the summer. So I ended up going out there, really enjoying it, had a good feeling. And every time it came to leaving, I just didn't want to leave. I hooked up with a DJ over there who was quite popular and playing a lot of gigs. And we met and we just clicked. And I would freestyle as he was working the turntables and playing music. And we bagged a lot of gigs over the summer. And then I just kept getting asked by the venues to come back. They loved my voice. They liked my performance style. Eventually I made the move and moved out to Estonia, and that's where I really established myself as an artist, which I was there for 4 years. And then I was like, okay, I think I really need to figure out whether I want to be an artist or if I want to be a producer. And it was only until the pandemic back in 2020 where all the gigs stopped. You know, there was no clubs, there was no live entertainment, and I didn't have any work coming in, that I really started to hone in on my skills as a producer. And that's where that took the turn. But yeah, it's been a long journey.
Well, you've had quite a career so far with a lot of twists and turns, and now you're stepping into the studio to sort of produce, becoming an artist in your own right. So, and is that at the point where you met Louise?
Yeah, so I met Louise only, I would say, about 2 months ago. It's been quite recent in my career journey. I actually met her through Darnell, through Deflex. I was invited by a lady who's organising a documentary about independent artists, and they were having a Christmas get-together at the end of 2021. So I went along, and there were several different artists there being interviewed, and Deflex was one of them, and literally just gravitated towards each other. In the room, we were quite one of the first two artists sort of to arrive, so just started chatting, and he's like, what are you doing? I put my best foot forward, and I was like, oh, I'm a producer, and I make music. And he's like, oh, what kind of music do you make? And I said, I make all different kinds, but at the moment I'm doing a lot of dance and house. And he's like, oh, I really need a remix for one of my singles, and I'm looking for a sort of dance pop house vibe. So he showed me his track, and I really liked it, the original. And then I said, yeah, like, here's some of my work. He really liked my work, and we said, okay, maybe we can do something. And just went from there. And then he told me that he was being managed, and at this point I didn't know it was Louise, but he said, yeah, he's under management, and they're working out some things, so I'll have a go at the remix. I'll send it to my team and see if they like it. And they loved it, and it turned out to be Louise. And I was like, that's so strange, I recognize this person. And she started to follow me on SoundCloud, and when I saw the picture again, I recognized the face. And then I went to my LinkedIn, and I realized we were already connected from about 2 years ago. And I had sent her a message, and she sent me one back. But nothing ever really came of that conversation. We just sort of were connected. And then, yeah, from there, we've just been working since.
It's funny how it goes, isn't it? When we're all kind of, especially online, we're all kind of connected. We're all sort of, that's 7 degrees of separation. And I suppose it's even less now due to the internet, because we all know someone who knows somebody who knows somebody. Sometimes the timing isn't just quite right, and then other times it is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to pause slightly because my partner's in the. I didn't realise my partner was coming into the flat. I mean, I'm in the room here. And she's inviting a friend round to come and look at the flat that we've just moved into. So, so there might be some background noise. So we might have to stop and do certain things again. But we're doing okay at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what would you say is a kind of a career highlight so far?
I would say one of my highest peaks was moving to Estonia and becoming an established artist over there, becoming very well known in the Baltics. I mean, I got so many opportunities working with top celebrity pop artists, you know, performing with them, going on TV. I did Eurovision 3 years running, the Estilao, which is the song contest for Eurovision, and also did some filming as well. So I did some films, I did some TV work, like some daytime television work, and then end up working with quite a renowned producer in Sweden by the name of Rasmus Faber, who we had met through another artist called JC Bag, who's a big French composer and performer in France. And I really established myself in this industry over there. Ended up on some credits for Universal for a pop artist in Estonia by the name of Yuri Potsman. And then coming back to the UK, I really wanted to really establish myself, as I said, as a producer, and then put myself forward for a mentorship with Fred Again and Camille, who are chart-selling producer and writers. And they picked me up as a mentee, along with 9 other girls, as they were looking for female producers, particularly in the UK, to mentor. And that put me in a position to then be in the studio with Fred and Camille and learn the industry that way, and also songwriting camps where people like Emily Kay, Ray, and Camille, who are very successful in terms of being in the charts and having platinum selling records. So definitely having that experience has definitely been a highlight for me. And then obviously meeting Louise as well is a top of the icing cake.
Yeah, of course, meeting me has
Yeah.
been the pinnacle so far.
Yes, definitely. Yes, of course.
That's great, and often it works out like that, doesn't it? With sometimes you have to go outside of your own country to get any kind of recognition.
Yeah, most definitely. I would say that I've probably had a lot more success in Europe than I have in the UK so far. So that's something I'm really working on this year, really establish myself in the UK. Being imported is definitely easier, I would say. And like there's countries, when you look at my analytics, that are supporting my music that I would never dreamed of, like Mexico, Spain, Canada. So internationally, you know, I'm reaching certain peaks, but yeah, I need to work on things in my own country.
So what's next then for you? It sounds like you're working on the producing, and you've already said you alluded to trying to maybe make more of a name for yourself in the UK. So have you got any sort of projects that you're working on at the moment?
Yeah, well, I'm working on, as I said, remixes for Donnell for his singles. We've now got 2 tracks that we've been working on, which we'll be releasing hopefully this year. Louise has given me a lot of work, actually, which I'm really grateful for, to work with the artists that she's got under her team. Yansky, who you interviewed, I'm doing a remix for his single. Also, there's a new artist, Becky Smith. She's a vocalist and songwriter. We've just started working together. So I've written a track for her and produced 2 tracks that we're getting in the studio. So I'm looking to, basically put out a lot of music with other artists, as well as my own material as well, that I'd like to get out for the summer. So some single releases, hopefully, start pushing into the charts or getting a lot more radio and club play. That would be amazing.
So what's your kind of strategy for sort of marketing and putting your music out there? Because obviously we know as musicians, the creating part is often the easy bit, right?
Yeah.
And the fun part. But what about actually sort of putting music out there and sort of branding and marketing? Have you got any kind of strategies around?
Yeah, so I use social media quite a lot. Like all the social medias, I tend to use Instagram quite often, and TikTok and Reels. And I also am networking. I'm actually studying a master's at Telyard at the moment, Telyard Music. So I'm trying to broaden my network branch and meet as many people in the industry, A&Rs. I'm talking to often and showing my music. And then there's a few PR companies as well that Louise has pointed in my direction, who will be very key players in terms of getting the music heard and on radio and in the clubs and such. So yeah, a lot of marketing on social media, and then some companies as well getting involved.
And what are you studying at the Tile Yard?
I'm doing commercial music in songwriting and production. So yeah, I'm just love to keep learning and building on my skills and my knowledge and meeting people and pushing the boundaries. So Telyard is an excellent hub for the music industry. You know, you can really get your hands on. I mean, we get given briefs every week, live briefs for established artists and labels, not just in the UK, but, you know, worldwide. So it just gives me that extra touch on the industry and have the opportunity to make a name for myself. Yeah.
What advice would you give to younger people who are sort of getting into the industry today?
I would say to really work on your craft, you know, really try to know yourself inside and out. What's your specialty? What's your key skill that you know really works for you, and then push the boundary with that. And then just stay focused and try to be as motivated as you can, as hard as it can be. You've really got to just keep yourself on track and just to keep going, because the moment you stop is the moment that you cease all opportunities coming to you. I think you've got to always be looking out for opportunities to level up, and yeah, just enjoy what you do, love it first, you know, and have the passion, and everything else should fall into place.
Great. Well, Renee, thank you very much for joining us today. It's great to hear from you. Great to meet another one of Louise's network. And yeah, we'll definitely look forward to seeing your progress here on the Prosperous Musician.
Thank you.
Be prosperous.